Yeah, there's a large gap between the scientific research on reading and classroom practice. That was acknowledged in a publication by the American Federation for Teachers, which is the second largest teachers union, which is really interesting. This is the teachers union acknowledging that there's this gap between research and practice. That was in '99, and in 2009, the Journal of Learning Disabilities, which is always one of the top most cited journals in special education and education, they did an entire special issue on why is it we have all this great research and it's not being put into practice. There have been a lot of different ways of trying to answer that, and there's no one simple answer. It's really a conglomeration of things. I think part of it is just the extreme differences and the vast amount of knowledge and the specialization across areas. So I heard that in the 1840s, if you got a bachelor's, which would probably be less than 0.5% of people in the population, you had been exposed to all the known knowledge up until that point. You'd have heard everything about history and medicine and science, et cetera. Well, we've come a long way since the 1840s. And so now, for example, in my department in psychology, psychology is so huge that of the 17 of us full-timers, we all study completely different things in the area of psychology. It's like medicine. The average ophthalmologist isn't reading a cardiology journal. Well, as it turns out, the reading research is contributed by members across many different disciplines, but they represent only a tiny percentage of each of those disciplines. So, for example, in the field of psychology, cognitive psychology, experimental psychology, you have a small percentage of us that are contributing to that. Same thing in linguistics, same thing in speech pathology, special education, general education, literacy. However, the larger portion of people in each of those fields is not necessarily aware of that research literature. That translates into the fact that you go to a school psychology program and you're not going to know much about this in the program that you're going to get. Does that mean they're against this idea? No, they just don't incorporate it. They don't know what it's there. It's not part of what they normally do. And if you go into education departments, you go into literacy departments, special education departments, most of the folks in those departments that's not their niche area. That's not the area that they're focusing on. And what I'm hoping is that now as the science of literacy becomes more well-known, that more people in those particular fields will say, hey, we can leverage this information. Yes, that's not my specialty, but our department needs to account for this and needs to make sure that when we have students graduate and go out and teach children to read, that they will have access to this information, even though it may not have been part of their specialization up until that point.